table that will help bring this constitutional logjam an idea, a suggestion, a proposal. And here's a last question for him. If we are in a voluntary union, which they all say that we are, what is the means for Scotland to leave it?
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to see the SNP are staying classy as usual. On the matter of personnel choices, I'm not sure my first go-to source would be the First Minister, because of course he appointed Peter Morrell to be the Chief Executive of the Scottish National Party. They don't like the answers when they ask the questions, Mr. Speaker. And in relation to their continuing obsession with independence, I would simply say this is a better time surely to focus on delivery. In May, nearly a third of patients waited more than the target 4 hours in Scotland in A&E, with a staggering 16,612 people waiting over 8 hours and 6,978 people waiting more than 12 hours. That is the worst time since records began. Their manifest failure on delivery, Mr. Speaker, really is the elephant in the room, or should I say, the camper van in the drive.
Patricia Ferguson, Chair of the Select Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Scottish Secretary will be aware that no NHS board in Scotland has met its target for starting cancer treatment within 62 days since 2012, that Public Health Scotland data shows that 1 in 7 Scots are on an NHS waiting list, and that Scottish Government's own figures show that home completions fell by 10% in the year to March. And don't even get me started on lifeline ferries to our islands. So does the Scottish Secretary agree with me that it's time for the SNP Scottish Government to start talking about delivery, acting on delivery, and to stop talking about division?
Mr. Speaker, the Chair of the Scottish Affairs Select Committee speaks with her characteristic wisdom and authority on these matters. It seems the only output that is rising on the SNP's watch is the number of statements being issued by solicitors on behalf of their high-profile clients.
David Mundell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I won't be overly effusive about the Secretary of State or the Minister, because it might not be helpful for them in the next few days. In a previous change of Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, as soon as Anna Soubry stood up and said that I had done a good job at the Scotland office, I knew I was doomed. But does the Secretary of State, will the Secretary of State make clear to the Right Honourable Member from Makerfield that devolution in itself is not an answer? It's how it's used. And we've seen that in Scotland, most recently, where the Scottish Parliament voted in favour of another independence referendum and against an inquiry into SNP finances.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure if it will impair my prospects by paying generous tribute to the question and the wisdom thereof. Of course, devolution provides you with the tools, but one of the great tragedies of the last 2 decades in Scotland is whether it is the education system, where we used to be the envy of the world, whether it's the National Health Service, whether it's the capacity to build or operate ferries. All too often, Scotland's gone backwards on the SNP watch, and there's a pretty basic explanation. For them, government is simply a way station on the route to independence, so they're not interested in delivering truthfully for the people of Scotland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Regardless of how we divide on the referendum, I wonder if colleagues on the SNP benches will find it in their hearts to put political division aside at 8 o'clock tonight. I did, Mr. Speaker, I did not come of age. Mr. Speaker, I did not come of age in time for the 1966 World Cup finals, but the older boys in my primary school were all nicknamed after the England World Cup squad. So we had Nobby Stiles and Charlton in our Scottish playground. That's a Hebridean example of respect and rivalry. And does the Secretary of State agree with today's Daily Record editorial, which says there's always room for friendly rivalry with neighbouring nations, but bringing politics into football does no one end?
Come on, Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, there's a serious point to start the answer, which is I've always believed to be pro-Scottish, you don't need to be anti-English. We should be bigger and more generous than that. We're all immensely proud of Steve Clarke, of Andy Robertson and the achievement of getting to the World Cup. But I think we could look across the North Sea to Norway for a demonstration of grace in circumstances in which they left the tournament. Be assured, I wish our friends, our neighbours and our sometimes rivals well this evening at 8 o'clock.
Secretary of State Andrew Barr.
Mr. Speaker, can I welcome the Secretary of State's reassurance on the Constitution? The people of Scotland do not want another divisive, distracting and damaging referendum on ripping our country apart. That being said, this Labour government do have a bit of a habit of changing position on certain issues. 25 U-turns in only 2 years. So can I ask the Secretary of State, whatever else changes, whoever else holds the keys to Dover House this time next week, will this be the one? And even if it is the only one, the one thing they stick to, no referendum, no consideration, will they dismiss out of hand immediately any move towards the breaking up of our United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Ours is a politics of solidarity, of cooperation and togetherness. We had a manifesto commitment not only opposing independence but opposing a further referendum, and we stand by that mandate.
Susan Murray, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 54% of Scots now back nuclear power, and the SNP tell them they can't have it. In May, over half of the Scots voted for 57% of the Scots voted for parties committed to the Union. Now, I know some parties might describe that as nearly 60%, but it's definitely a majority. But the SNP's answer, as we're hearing, appears to be another referendum. And there's a pattern where a majority of Scots disagree with the SNP, the SNP decides the majority is wrong. So will the Secretary of State back the single transferable vote so that Scots get what Scots vote for?
Mr. Speaker, it's now almost a matter of ancient history, but in the forgotten referendum that took place under the last Labour government, I was proud to campaign alongside her party's former leader, Charles Kennedy, in favour of the alternative vote. And in that sense, I think there are ways that we can improve the working of our democracy within the United Kingdom without separating and leaving ourselves from the United Kingdom.
Laura Bard.
Mr. Speaker, can I welcome the honourable member to her place and congratulate her on a recent by-election victory. This government's focus is to make the existing devolution settlement work effectively. For too long, we've watched centralisation of decision-making taking place at Holyrood, pulling powers away from local communities across Scotland. It's time that changed, and I would remind the SNP-led Scottish Government there's actually a nation outside of and beyond Holyrood. It's called Scotland.
Laura Bard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Devolution appears to be all the rage at the moment, and the Secretary of State will know fine well that the Scottish Parliament recently voted to devolve energy powers back to Scotland. So in this new spirit of renewed cooperation and trust that we are apparently about to start to see, can I ask the Secretary of State when the UK Government will respect the vote of the Scottish Parliament and devolve energy powers back to Scotland?
Mr. Speaker, the SNP seem to respect every vote apart from the constitutional referendum in which 84% of the Scottish people exercised their democratic choice. She says that that devolution is all the rage. Some of us, with respect, were early adopters. I campaigned for, voted for and supported the Scotland Act in this House, arguing for a two-parliament solution to Scotland's effective governance. Energy policy is one of the areas of policy that is held here at Westminster, albeit there are important planning considerations in Westminster. But on the substantive point that the centralisation of powers in Holyrood needs to be reversed, I certainly do agree. The honourable lady seems to have no comment on that. She's obviously replicating the pattern of behaviour of a certain former First Minister.
Lillian Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For 23 years I've proudly served in Scotland's NHS, working alongside dedicated, hard-working, brilliant nurses. Yet under the SNP government, those very nurses are paying higher income tax than colleagues anywhere else in the UK. Does the Secretary of State agree, instead of demanding more powers, the SNP government should use the powers they already have to concentrate on delivering better public services and better value for Scotland's taxpayer?
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member, my honourable friend, for her question. I couldn't agree more. My own mother worked for many years in the NHS in Ayrshire at Crosshouse Hospital. The Scottish Government is, alas, letting those dedicated NHS workers down. After 19 years in power, it must account for its record on public services, from NHS waiting lists to declining school standards, We used to have an education system that was the envy of the world. The priority should be on delivery and not division.
Secretary of State Andrew Barr.
Mr. Speaker, we famously haven't heard very much from the Right Honourable Member from Makerfield and his plans for government, although we do know that he seems to be a fan of devolution and its job-creating opportunities for him. Well, I can tell colleagues from experience devolution ain't everything it's cracked up to be. In Scotland, we have had 20 years of SNP mismanagement and a pervasive and deeply damaging devolve and forget mentality in London. So can the Secretary of State confirm Labour will not be devolving any more power to Edinburgh?
Mr. Speaker, I hardly think that the mismanagement of the SNP that he rightfully describes should damn devolution in the eyes of everyone in this chamber. It is perfectly possible to drive a Ferrari into a ditch, which is pretty much what we've seen over the last 19 years.
And Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition, we've demonstrated that we are unafraid to step in and act when decisions are being taken by the Scottish Government that are to the detriment of Scots and Scotland, with the Gender Recognition Act a few years ago. So will he today commit to urging the new Prime Minister to think long and hard about how devolution in the hands of the SNP is failing Scotland and Scotland's economy, and examine how, on this government's watch, SNP ministers have been able to jet around the world on taxpayer jollies, allowed British civil servants to drop plans to tear Britain apart, and spent countless hundreds of thousands pursuing a narrow, divisive agenda focused on pulling Scotland apart rather than growing it together?
Mr. Speaker, I think an awareness of all of those issues is not simply that for the incoming Prime Minister, but anybody who reads a newspaper in Scotland. It is a travesty of the potential of devolution, what we've witnessed. Not simply the distraction of focusing on issues that are not devolved, but their abject failure in policy after policy area that is devolved. Ferries, hospitals, schools, the list goes on.
Question number 6, please.
Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, GBE Nuclear's technical study that was recently published confirms that Scotland possesses land areas with high potential for new nuclear development. Such projects could deliver significant investment and thousands of high-quality, unionised skills jobs. As a government, we remain open to discussions with the Scottish Government on deploying these technologies, both to boost Scotland's economic growth and energy security.
Erin Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. New nuclear in areas such as my constituency of North Ayrshire and Arran could bring much-needed skilled jobs and investment to the area. Yet again, Scotland is losing out. Does the Secretary of State agree with me that the Scottish Government should review and consider its stance on nuclear, given the findings of the report by Great British Energy Nuclear, which shows the potential for new developments, including in Hunterston in my constituency?
Secretary of State.
Well, Mr. Speaker, whether it's Hunterston in my honourable friend's constituency or indeed Torness in my own constituency, Scotland has a proud history of harnessing that civil nuclear power to bring jobs and growth to Scotland. Alas, the anti-scientific approach that the SNP have adopted of denying us that future of carbon-free energy is one that will also, unless it changes, deny us the high-skilled jobs and investment in North Ayrshire and Arran that is required, and indeed across Scotland.
John Lamont.
Mr. Speaker, many of my constituents work at Torness Power Station and are deeply disappointed that the SNP government are blocking new nuclear development in Scotland. So does the Secretary of State agree with me that the nuclear industry provides highly skilled jobs and it's a grave mistake by the SNP government to block them coming to Scotland?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, on that there is cross-party consensus. I can attest to that as the constituency Member of Parliament in Lothian East, where we've had decades of not just sustainable power that is carbon-free, but really high-quality jobs, excellent apprenticeships and stimulus to the local economy. I know of the contribution of his own constituents to the work in Torness. We want to see life beyond 2029-2030.
Gordon McKee.
7, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary of State.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, I will answer questions 7 and 12 together. City, region and growth deals are having a visible and transformative impact on regional economies across Scotland. Built on more than £1.5 billion of UK government investment, the deals play a vital role in fostering enduring economic growth, unlocking private sector investment and improving infrastructure and job opportunities.
On McKay.
Can I thank the Minister for his answer? Cities like Manchester and Liverpool have benefited enormously from the regional devolution. Glasgow, 30 years ago, Greater Glasgow was split up into more than a dozen local authorities. So can I press the Secretary of State, when he meets with the Scottish Government, to press them to devolve power out of Edinburgh and into Glasgow?
Mr. Speaker, in the words of the incoming Prime Minister, we're up for it. As far as devolving power from Holyrood is concerned, alas, many of the powers do rest with the Scottish Government, but we need to end the grinding centralisation that I described in my speech to the Convention of Scottish Local Authorities last autumn and see a renewed focus on the city regions of Scotland.
Douglas McAllister.
Mr. Speaker, West Dunbartonshire is one of 8 local authorities which makes up the Glasgow City Region deal, and the local authority is delivering an ambitious project to create a major industrial and commercial development on the former ExxonMobil terminal site on the Clyde. The enabling works are funded jointly by the Council and the Glasgow City Region deal to the tune of £45 million. So does the Secretary of State agree that to reindustrialise every part of our nation, this government must help unlock the economic potential of the site and bring much-needed, well-paid, high-skilled jobs to West Dunbartonshire?
So, Mr. Speaker, let me assure my honourable friend that we are committed to bringing economic opportunity to every part of Scotland, unlocking the economic potential of sites exactly like the ExxonMobil Bowling Terminal is how we can achieve this for communities and deliver those high-skilled jobs that people want to see. West Dunbartonshire is presently benefiting from over £500 million through the Glasgow City Region deal and money from our new local growth fund. This government is working hard with local partners to deliver that long-term prosperity.
Number 8, sir. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was delighted to meet with key farming stakeholders at the Royal Highland Show, where we discussed the structural pressures facing the livestock industry in Scotland. This government absolutely recognises that food security is national security. And while there has been a decline in herd sizes, we've seen higher productivity and changed genetics. So we continue to work closely with departments across government to champion our producers and use Brand Scotland to promote Scotland's export potential globally.
Jerome Mayo.
Mr. Speaker, Scotland's beef breeding herd is in trouble. It's down 373,000 in the last decade. There's also declines in the dairy, cattle, pigs and chickens. It shows an industry in distress. Now, the Minister, in her response, says that food security is national security. So why does she and the Secretary of State let the SNP use devolution as a shield whilst they strip Scotland's larder bare?
Mr. Speaker, it is not a question of using devolution as a shield, it's a question of proper accountability where it sits. Farming is a devolved matter. The Scottish Government, the SNP Scottish Government, has not delivered for Scotland's farmers. Just take the Scottish Government's Future Farming Investment Scheme. In some areas, rejection rates for ineligibility were as high as 94% under the SNP, a very typical example of the overly bureaucratic nature of their policy.
Mr Dougan, we don't need an ongoing shouting match from your Secretary position. And the next.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, by ending Tory austerity and increasing the settlement to the Scottish Government by nearly £12 billion, this UK Labour Government has provided adequate funding for the SNP to properly resource Scotland's rural economy. Does the Minister agree with me that it is time that Scotland's rural industries were properly recognised and got the support that they needed from the Scottish Government?
Could not agree with my honourable friend more. Our farms and farmers are absolutely vital to this country as providers of food, guardians of our countryside and significant contributors to the economy, and it's time the SNP Scottish Government recognised that fact.
That concludes Scotland's questions. Before we move on, may I extend a warm welcome to the Speaker of New Zealand and the House of Representatives and his delegation who are with us in the gallery today. Thank you. That helps. We now come to the final Prime Minister's questions of this term, and indeed the final Prime Minister's questions for the Right Honourable, the Member for Holborn and St Pancras as Prime Minister. Can I thank the Prime Minister for his public service, his international leadership, particularly in his steadfast support for Ukraine. I am sure members will wish to join me in wishing him and his family well in the future. And let's hope this Prime Minister will be bringing home a winning England World Cup from the chest. On that note, I'm going to call Graham Stewart.
Question 1, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, can I thank you for your kind words?
But I must start by saying I'm truly horrified by the murder of Anne Widdecombe. She was a distinguished politician with deep convictions, whose vivid and fearless character captured the public imagination. My heartfelt condolences go out to all of her friends and all of her loved ones. Mr. Speaker, it is chilling that during my time in this Parliament, 11 years, 3 serving or former MPs have been murdered. I look across at the shield for our dear friend Jo Cox and the shield for Sir David Amess that sits behind me. Mr. Speaker, I know this is a House matter, so this is my personal view, but I do believe it would be fitting for the House to consider a similar tribute to Anne. We thank the police for their work, and the integrity of their investigation must be protected. Mr. Speaker, you have been instrumental in defending the safety of every member of this House, and I believe we must do more to defend our democracy. I've tasked officials across government to identify the best mechanisms for taking this work forward so it can move as quickly as possible, and I hope the whole House can unite behind that in the months ahead. Mr. Speaker, let me also pay tribute to the courage of the Hillsborough families. The Hillsborough law we passed in this House last night is not only a law for them and the 97, it is a law that ensures the state serves millions of working people and always gives a voice to those who fight for justice. A law for everyone, delivered by a Labour government in the best traditions of the Labour movement. Mr. Speaker, this morning I have meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I have an important appointment with the television at 8 o'clock this evening.
May I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks about Anne Widdecombe? Take this opportunity to thank him for his public service and wish him and his family all the best for the future. Most of us, Mr. Speaker, can only dream of playing the role of Jude Bellingham, scoring the winning goal, leading our team to victory. Yet the Prime Minister did it. But politics, like football, is a ruthless game, and he's now been handed a red card by the 400 dodgy referees behind him. What advice, Mr. Speaker, does this Prime Minister have for the Right Honourable Member for Makerfield to ensure that he, unlike himself, doesn't end up with an early bath?
Mr. Speaker, I think that's the first and sadly probably the last time I'll be compared to Jude Bellingham. But I thank him for that. And on the question of red cards, I can't tell him how much incoming I had a week ago Monday after President Trump intervened for their red card, for me to get the England red card adjusted. Just for the record, Mr. Speaker, I didn't attempt. But for my successor and for the England team, I won't give advice. I will simply give my wholehearted support. And Mr. Speaker, just for the record, I don't care what the score is tonight, as long as we win.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I take this opportunity to thank the Prime Minister for his many years?
Come on, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I rise for the third time. It was an honour to march with people from across Watford on a peace walk in my constituency recently, because earlier this year we saw an attack on our high street where a fire was lit at a Jewish-owned shop and sprayed with anti-Semitic graffiti. Additionally, mosques in Watford have been subject to Islamophobic attacks and intimidation. So I welcome my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister's additional support to deal with anti-Semitism and anti-religious hatred. And does he agree with me that this House must come together to stand united against those that would seek to divide us?
Prime Minister. Well, can I thank him for his question and for his hard work? And he reminds us that an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. Anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim hatred are a poison. we ripped anti-Semitism out of the Labour Party. And I've worked as Prime Minister to root it out of our country. And that's why just this week, Mr. Speaker, we invested a record £250 million to protect our Jewish communities. And we're using the new powers we introduced to designate the IRGC, going after those who incite violence on our street. Everyone deserves to live with security, dignity and freedom. And that is a fight that I and every Labour government and across this House will never give up on.
Kemi Badenoch, the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, can I start by thanking the Prime Minister for the way he responded to the murder of Anne Widdecombe last week. This is the first opportunity I've had on the floor of the House to commemorate her life. A lot has been said about how she died. I want to focus on celebrating the life she lived. She was a woman of high principle, profound beliefs with a wicked sense of humour, a wonderful combination of being a serious person who did not take herself too seriously. She changed her faith from Anglican to Catholic and from the Conservative Party to the Brexit Party, but she always remained part of the Conservative family. You may not always have agreed with her, but Anne Widdecombe was a woman who said what she meant and meant what she said. Hers was an honesty that made our politics better. Her wit and forthrightness sat alongside a deep humanity and decency. She had wonderful turns of phrase. She said, "We need less political correctness and more political courage." She said, "If we deny our culture, become nothing and everything, that weakens us." And finally, Mr. Speaker, she also said, "It is a truth universally unacknowledged at Westminster that there is life after politics." So with that in mind, I turn to this Prime Minister's final questions. And Mr. Speaker, I wanted to make sure that I got the tone right today. So I looked back at his final questions to Boris Johnson, and luckily for him, I plan to be much gentler than he was that day. Week after week, the Prime Minister and I have clashed at this dispatch box and rarely agreed on anything. But there is one thing I did admire. When President Zelensky was attacked in the White House, the Prime Minister showed leadership and invited him to Downing Street. That was the right thing to do. Ukraine is on the front line in the battle for freedom. So does the Prime Minister agree that cross-party support for their cause must endure?
Prime Minister.
Can I start by joining her in a tribute to Anne Widdecombe? I know that the hurt is keenly felt across all her friends and family, but it is particularly keenly felt by political colleagues in the Conservative Party for many years and in Reform as well. And that's why one of the first things I did on Friday was to phone the Leader of the Opposition and the Leader and Deputy Leader of Reform to express my condolences and to try to act in a cross-party manner, because I knew how much this would hurt them and their parties and many people in their party. And I thank them for taking that call in the spirit that they did last Friday. I thank her for her comments about Ukraine. We have stood united on Ukraine in this House. We supported the last government in the approach that they took, and we've taken that approach on. That meeting with President Zelensky, the day after he was evicted from the Oval Office, he left alone. He got a plane. We got him to come to London, and I asked him to come to Downing Street straight away. And I walked out to meet him. I gave him a hug, and then I showed him what was in the street, which was many people who had come thinking that he was visiting Downing Street. And the moment he got out the car and hugged me, they cheered on the top of their voices, the British people, to tell President Zelensky exactly what they thought of him and the way that he had been treated. And that was a really emotional moment, because it was the first human contact he had effectively had outside of his immediate team since he left the Oval Office. I had a meeting with him to tell him that in this country we will stand with him and Ukraine, and I didn't let him leave alone. I walked him out to his car, because we don't let people in Britain walk out of our buildings alone. We escort them out.
Can I thank the Prime Minister for that answer? And no doubt he will be disappointed that he won't be emulating his hero, Harold Wilson, in winning multiple elections. However, we all hope that he may be about to emulate him in another way, by being the Prime Minister when England win the World Cup. That is something that every single one of us in this House should get behind, especially the SNP. Mr. Speaker, as leader of the opposition, the Prime Minister led his party to a landslide after a historic defeat. I fully intend to do the same. But if you want to lead this country, you should set out your plans to do so. We have. But one politician intends to spend the summer avoiding scrutiny, refusing to set out his plans. So does he not agree that what the country deserves is a televised debate between Nigel Farage and Count Binface?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, they intend to spend the summer arguing with the bin. My advice to everyone is put your vote in the bin. Mr. Speaker, can I just say that I'm delighted today that we are joined in the gallery by some of the people I've met across the country in opposition and in power. And these are the people in the gallery today who are in my mind's eye. People like Trevor and Lewis. They worked together at JLR for over 30 years, and I visited them just before we got the deal with America when tariffs were threatened, and I faced the entire workforce that day who were very, very concerned that they were going to lose their jobs because the tariffs would not be possible for JLR. When we went back, when we got the deal, I took the call from President Trump at JLR in Solihull so that they could hear the deal and they knew exactly what it would mean for them. The only mistake I made was putting it on loudspeaker, which of course is always a slightly unpredictable thing to do when you've got President Trump on the other end. But luckily he agreed the deal and the cheer went out. But these are the people across the galleries who are here with us today that are always in my mind's eye.
Ben.
Mr. Speaker, I know how much the Prime Minister has come to enjoy our exchanges. In fact, in the King's speech last month, he told me that on difficult days, my input was always a ray of sunshine. He might not have answered many of the questions I asked him, but at least he turned up. It is important to respect Parliament. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that his successor should come to this place and answer questions rather than scurrying away for the summer?
Yes. Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as Prime Minister, I've participated in over 60 PMQs. Always a pleasure, always something to look forward to. And I've answered, or at least given answers, on 2,800 times. And I'm sure she will question my successor in the same way. And I'm sure she'll forgive me if I just mention one or two others who are in the gallery who have been affected by the decisions we've made, because Billy, who is sitting in the gallery in front of me, was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2023. She was there, Mr. Speaker, when we launched our plan for change, and she's been a tireless advocate for better cancer care. Billy joins us today from the Special Needs School where she works in London, and I'm pleased to tell the House that Billy's cancer is in remission.
Can I thank the Prime Minister for that answer and paying tribute to so many of the people who he has been able to help. In fact, I remember when I started this job, the Prime Minister was very helpful to me, saying that I wouldn't last the year. Life comes at you fast. He spent a long time laughing that I'd lost control of my party. I think he should have been paying attention to his backbenchers instead of mine. But everyone in politics would do well to remember how quickly political fortunes can change. I know that he has been asked and he's being diplomatic, but on that note, Does he have any advice for his successor?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I will give my wholehearted support to my successor. I want this Labour government to be a success. I want our country to be a success. I shall give my support privately if asked for, not publicly when not asked for. But, Mr. Speaker, I also, if I may, wanted to draw attention to Pooja, who's with us in the gallery today with her daughter. I first met Pooja in a cafe at the back of Euston Station, and she told me about her son Ronan, who was murdered when he was 16, having just done his GCSEs. I have to say, as a father of 2 teenagers, I found that very hard to hear. His killer, who was also a teenager, collected a ninja sword and a machete from his local post office. He bought them online using a parent's credit card, a fake name with no ID checks. And when I heard that, I said to Pooja that I would campaign with her to get the law changed and make a commitment and a promise to her. And that's why we passed Ronan's Law, driven by Pooja's inspirational campaigning. And today I'd just like the opportunity to thank her for that.
Mr. Speaker, that is a lovely statement that the Prime Minister has just made to Pooja. I'm sure the whole House will agree. I think the whole House will also agree that he gave a very diplomatic answer to the question I asked him on advice to his successor. And having heard it, I say this to Labour MPs with as much goodwill as I can muster. We have been where you are. Changing Prime Minister is not a silver bullet. Indeed, it may be that the Labour Party's troubles are only just beginning. Solving the fundamental problems in this country will require difficult decisions. And you also need to know how to get things done. The Prime Minister once said that when he pulled the levers, nothing happened. Why did he think that was?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we did pull the levers. We pulled the levers to stabilise the economy, and we've stabilised the economy. We pulled the levers to strengthen our public services, and NHS waiting lists are coming down at the fastest rate for 17 years. We pulled a big lever on child poverty, and this government will be doing more on child poverty than any government ever, including previous Labour governments. We put the biggest investment into defence and security, and our international standing has been restored. But, Mr. Speaker, we also pulled the lever on the individual cases that matter, including individuals like Carla, who's in the gallery today. It was one of the parents that came to see me about online harm and the harm it can do to our young children, and that's why we banned social media for under-16s. And Daniel, who's also here with his son, who spoke to me many times about the struggles he's had with the cost of living and the need for a safe and secure home for every family and every child to grow up in. They're the people, Mr. Speaker, that matter more to me than anything else, because it's their lives that I think about when we make decisions in this government.
Final question, Kevin Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So for my last question, the Prime Minister may not think so now, but it is a tribute to him that not a single sitting Labour MP could beat him. Not the member for Ashton-under-Lyne, who couldn't count her taxes, not the member for Sheffield-Heeley, who couldn't count how many phones she'd lost, and definitely not the member for Ilford North, who couldn't count to 81. This is my last exchange with the Right Honourable Gentleman, and I know how much his wife and children mean to him, and that they are in the gallery today. As everyone here knows, our families make a huge sacrifice for our choice to enter public life. So I hope he will allow me to draw our time together to a close by thanking them for the love and support they have given him throughout his time in office.
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her very much for that? It is the last question I'll face from the Leader of the Opposition, and so let me wish her well and her family. We have had robust exchanges across this dispatch box, but she has extended kindness to me privately at very difficult times, including when there was an attempt to burn down our family home. which deeply affected my family. She reached out to me. And when my brother died of cancer, she reached out to me privately, not across this dispatch box. And I thank her for that and the tribute that she's just made to my wife and children, who mean the world to me. I do thank her for that. She knows this is robust, and it has to be robust, and that's the way politics is done. But the kindnesses that sit behind it privately are often just as powerful, if not more powerful, and I thank her for that. I also stood at that dispatch box, Mr. Speaker, for 4 years as leader of the opposition. I know firsthand it's the most difficult job in politics, and that is what she is doing. When I did so, Mr. Speaker, we had just lost the 2019 election, which nearly broke my party. It was the worst result since 1935, and we were found to be institutionally anti-Semitic. And, Mr. Speaker, I picked up our party, I turned it round, I made a promise to rip anti-Semitism out of my party, and I did. I turned my party to face the country, and we won a landslide Labour general election. And after 2 years, we've stabilised the economy. We have invested heavily in our public services. We put better protections in for children, particularly on child poverty. We've strengthened our defence, and we've enhanced our international reputation. I'm proud to leave this country in a better shape than I found it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It is an emotional Prime Minister's question time today, and I really welcome the tone that has been struck and think we should hear more of this more often. Last year, I convened a roundtable of stakeholders in my constituency to explore joined-up solutions to tackling the scourge of violence against women and girls. And I've been really pleased over the last 2 years the Prime Minister has made that central to his government's mission. He has ensured that spiking and sexual deep fakes have been criminalised, that police forces have been mandated to have rape and sexual offences teams, and it has embedded trauma support for victims across all services. Does he agree that the government absolutely must stick to the pledge that the Labour Party put in its 2024 manifesto to halve violence against women and girls over the next decade?
Prime Minister. Yes, I do. Can I pay tribute to her campaigning on this issue? Mr. Speaker, yesterday I was with John and Penny Clough, who I first met nearly 16 years ago. They lost their daughter to domestic violence of the most extreme sort in appalling circumstances. And in many ways, my journey campaigning on violence against women and girls started with them 16 years ago this year. I pay tribute to them and everybody else who campaigns on this. That's why we set the mission to halve violence against women and girls in a decade. Whatever role I do next, I will continue to campaign for that for as long as I've got breath in my body.
Sir Ed Davey, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with so many of the Prime Minister's comments today, but particularly his remarks about Anne Widdecombe? She devoted her life to public service, and her murder was truly horrifying, and I support his campaign now for a memorial in this chamber to her. Can I also thank the Leader of the Opposition for her tribute to Anne, and to remind the whole House and the whole country that we need to remember Anne for the way she lived her life. I have to make a confession. I've always been slightly jealous of Anne for appearing on Strictly Come Dancing.
Still time.
Mr. Speaker, but can I join the whole nation, and hopefully every nation, in wishing England well against Argentina tonight, after their superb win against Norway? And it's the last job of the Prime Minister to make sure we win the World Cup. But can I also pick up on a remark from the Leader of the Opposition about the by-election we're about to see in Clacton? I have to tell her I cannot back joke figures with ridiculous policies, which is why I'm supporting Count Binface. Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister finds himself with more time on his hands, can I recommend the new Toy Story film? For those of you who don't know Toy Story, its main character used to be in law enforcement, but was mainly known for being a little wooden, but was replaced by a shiny new action figure from far away who thinks he can fly, and the name Andy on everyone's lips. Perhaps, Mr. Speaker, maybe the Prime Minister should give that a miss. But does he share my fear that when it comes to Britain's national debt, the right honourable member for Makerfield's plan is to infinity and beyond.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, can I first? So it's a very. He's clearly angling to go on Strictly Come Dancing, and no doubt he'd be very good at it. And I've some good news for him, because he is, fittingly, the right honourable member for Chessington World of Adventures. And I'm supposed he talks about the economy. I'm pleased to tell him that thanks to our summer savings, his family can save nearly £20 when they visit this summer.
Sir Ed Davey.
Mr. Speaker, can I invite the Prime Minister to join me at Chessington World Adventures? We haven't always agreed across the floor, but can I pay my own tribute?
Yes, you have.
I've disagreed with them on Europe, and I've disagreed with you on Europe. So shall I say to the Prime Minister that although we've not always agreed, I've always admired the way he has led his party. I've always admired the way he's been a true patriot, and I always admire the way he's worked with so many people across this House to do the best for the national interest, and we thank him for his public service. And Mr. Speaker, one of the Prime Minister's qualities that people most underestimate comes from his experience as a carer. He's spoken powerfully about looking after his mother through her battle with Steele's disease and the love and care he gave to his brother Nick. And I know the Prime Minister agrees that we can and must do more for family carers. So as he leaves number 10, will he join with me and other carers across this House to speak up for family carers, to be their voice, and to get them the support they deserve?
Yes, and can I thank him for everything he's done in relation to social care and the importance of providing care. And he does it with very real human experience that we all know and we all respect. And no doubt he will continue to champion that, as everybody should. He asked me about joining him at Chessington World of Adventures. I will. Can I suggest 12 noon on the first Wednesday in September?
Rachel Maskell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before coming to this House, the Prime Minister and I attended the launch of my uncle's book. It was entitled Fine Lines and Distinctions. And clearly, sometimes we've had those differences, but I genuinely wish him and his family well for the future. Yeah. But before he places his pen down, I understand there's a tradition to leave a note for your successor. And in wishing all honourable members the very best of summers, I ask that he asked his successor, the Right Honourable Member for Makerfield, to enact my legislation to licence short-term holiday lets and ensure that we can protect our communities from family houses turning into party houses in our residential areas and ensuring we keep those housing costs down.
Prime Minister.
I'm not sure about notes for success. I think we left one in 2010, which didn't work too well. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that my successor will look at our private members' bill, and I'm proud to have overseen the biggest boost to renters' rights in a generation. We kick-started the biggest boost to social and affordable house building, and wherever people live, they deserve a safe, secure home that they can call their own.
Richard Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Whilst his own MPs may have sent him off without resorting to VAR, I have some good news for the Prime Minister. Yes, under his tenureship, 76% of England football matches have been won, which is the greatest, most successful record of any Prime Minister in history. So will he commit, in his remaining days in office, to carrying out whatever meetings, reviews, motivational talks to ensure his greatest legacy on Sunday is that finally football is coming home?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for this? I mean, I'm a massive football fan, so forgive me for being a nerd on this, but we've won 22 out of 29 matches since I've been Prime Minister of the England team. We have got to get that to 24 over 31, which means we will win on Sunday, and I wish the team well. And of course, Mr. Speaker, it's only under Labour governments that we win the World Cup. And in that spirit, I'm sure the whole House will get behind the team.
Julia Butley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Watching the Prime Minister secure his legacy this week with the NATO summit and the Hillsborough Law, I wondered if he wanted to make it a hat-trick and support Shrewsbury College's bid for a new construction skills centre. As the main post-16 provider in the county, our outstanding college trains over 10,000 young people and adults, both A-levels and vocational qualifications. But this year's applications are up by 15% and our buildings are full to capacity. In a rural area like Shrewsbury with limited alternatives, hundreds of people could end up becoming NEET. Will the Prime Minister support their third attempt to secure capital funds and meet the growing need so we can open the Construction Skills Centre in September?
You've got it, I've got it, you must.
Mr. Speaker, I know that the college in our constituency has made a bid to the Post-16 and Construction Skills Capacity Fund to expand their provision. I've also set a target for 2/3 of young people either to go to university or to a gold standard apprenticeship, because I think we need to rebalance. We rightly applaud and put on a pedestal those that go to university. We need to do the same for those that are apprentices as well, and have a bit of rebalancing.
Can we just speed up questions, because there's some people I really do want to get in to help everybody. David Chadwick, got it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 2 weeks ago, the news leaked that Powys Teaching Health Board is considering taking the beds out of all but 2 community hospitals in Powys, and 2,500 people have already signed my petition against those cuts. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that taking beds out of community hospitals is not a solution for the crisis in social care, and why didn't he prioritise fixing social care when he had the opportunity?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would remind him that when his party was in the coalition government, they didn't do anything about social care. They simply cut all our public services, and we had to pick up the results of that. But, Mr. Speaker, I don't know the details of the particular case he refers to, but I'll make sure he gets a better answer than that in writing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Olivia is a young constituent in Darlington. Her testimony was instrumental in securing a ban on stranger contact for under-16s. She has the letter that the Prime Minister sent her framed on her wall. Olivia and millions of young people across the country will be safer because of him, and his commitment to hear the stories of ordinary people and the injustices they have faced and then to take action has delivered real change. Given that social media has, for better or for worse, played such an influential role on our tenure in this House, I wondered if the Prime Minister might share with all of us any of the viral moments that have had cut through in the Starmer household.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I need to tread very carefully here. I got into a lot of trouble in a primary school when an 8-year-old encouraged me to do the 6-7 thing, and the whole class joined in. It went viral, and when I left, the head teacher told me sternly that it was against the school rules. And I have to say, I was totally pathetic. I'd simply said, I didn't start it. It must be
Alistair Carmichael on it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like others, I have always respected the Prime Minister as somebody who was in politics because he wanted to give service to his country, and he's earned our gratitude for that. In my constituency, those who volunteer as Coast Guard rescue officers also do so from a wish to give service to their community. So in the time that remains for him in office, will the Prime Minister ensure that the money paid to them properly reflects the respect that they earn for their service?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for this really important question? I start by wishing him a very happy birthday. But this is really important, and I want to pay tribute to every volunteer. They show incredible bravery, putting their lives at risk to save others. Our guiding principle is making sure we respond to this complex case by properly recognising their vital work. Ministers will continue to work with all parties, the Coast Guard Rescue Service and volunteers, to respond to their concerns and to get this right. And he's absolutely right to raise this very important issue. We'll be on it.
Lord Ham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I pay tribute to the Prime Minister for his steadfast leadership in the face of 2 major conflicts? My right honourable friend's efforts to successfully marshal international support for Ukraine and his work to ensure that our armed forces are not sucked into an aimless and dangerous war with Iran could prove, in fact, I believe will prove, to be his most important legacy. Does the Prime Minister share my view that we must now use every diplomatic tool at our disposal, including sanctions against networks and enablers, to crack down on hostile states such as Russia and Iran?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I thank him for that? And I'm proud of the fact that we pulled together the coalition of the willing, Mr. Speaker. We did so because the usual frameworks, the UN wouldn't work to do that. The EU was blocked by Hungary, and NATO wasn't the vehicle because Ukraine is not in NATO. So we put together a coalition of the willing, led by the French and the UK, and now the Germans. I'm honoured that we're joined in the gallery by the Ukrainian ambassador today, Mr. Speaker. Let me say to him and all Ukrainians, we are united in this House against Russian aggression. That work began before I was Prime Minister. It will continue afterwards because Ukraine's security is our security. And this House is proud to stand with you.
Danny Kruger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Prime Minister for his service? He is a good man and I wish him very well for the future. But, Mr. Speaker, politics is not a joke. And every other party in this House, except Reform, has put forward as their candidate in the Clapton by-election a comedian with a dustbin on his head. Mr. Speaker, it might be, if they would listen, it might be that a man with his head full of rubbish is a fitting representative of the mainstream parties in this House. But the Prime Minister, I think the Prime Minister did endorse the bin man. But could he clarify that? If he won't put up a Labour candidate in Clapton, who does he actually want to win?
Mr. Speaker, I know that Reform believe in recycling politicians. I wonder that's if he really thought spending his summer arguing with a bin was what he had in mind when he defected to the benches up there.
That's sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Monday will mark 10 years to the brutal rape and murder of my constituent Samia Shahid in a so-called honour killing. Can I first thank the Prime Minister for all his leadership on the agenda for ending violence against women and girls? And can he join me in reaffirming the UK's commitment to end this abhorrent killing in the name of so-called honour, not just here in England, but across the world?
Well, can I pay heartfelt tribute to her for everything she has done to campaign and draw attention to this issue, and the very powerful and personal way in which she argues it. And when she spoke in this House earlier this year, it was compelling for all of us, for all the right reasons, and I thank her for that, and I know she will continue to do so for many, many years to come, and right so, and thank her.
Alison Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to put on record my appreciation for the hard work of the Prime Minister's ministerial team in DEFRA in tackling the absolute failings of South East Water. But last Friday, 1,200 pupils at Downlands Community School in Hassocks were sent home because they had no water. For those children, for their parents, for their teachers, it was another reminder of South East Water letting communities down. I'm sure the Prime Minister would agree that something as basic as turning on the tap should never be in doubt. So, before new housing developments are approved, does he agree that water companies should be compelled to confirm that they have the capacity to provide a reliable water supply to those new homes?
Yeah. Well, this incident is completely unacceptable, and every customer deserves reliable, resilient services, particularly during extreme heat where there's a risk to public health. The Water Minister has met the company's leadership to demand improvements and will follow up in that way.
Whereas, Mr. Speaker, even GB News is now admitting that with small boat crossings down more than 40% this year, the Prime Minister's strategy to smash the trafficking gangs is working. With the costly fiasco of the Conservatives' Rwanda scheme long behind us and our relationship with our nearest neighbours and friends in France rebuilt, does the Prime Minister think that now is the time to establish a safe and legal route between Planet Sigma 9 and Clacton?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I am pleased that net migration is down 82%. Small boat crossings are down 40%. The asylum backlog is down. We're closing asylum hotels, and we deported 70,000 people with no right to be here. That's what this government's delivering.
Mr. Speaker, books are going to be written about how a mayor of Manchester has managed to outmanoeuvre a sitting Prime Minister with a 170-seat majority and take the keys to number 10. The Prime Minister appears to have been brought down by an inability to articulate a plan for government. So it must be tough, Mr. Speaker, it must be tough to be replaced by a man who refuses to say whether he's even got a plan. So as the Prime Minister bows out, done in by his honourable friends, does he argue with me, does he agree with me that in a few months' time we'll all be missing him?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the economy has been stabilised. We've got stronger public services. 500,000 children are being lifted out of poverty. We've got biggest investment in defence and security since the 1980s, and our international standing has been restored. That's not just a plan; it's a plan being delivered.
Can I congratulate the Prime Minister yesterday on being recipient of the Légion d'honneur medal, and also on the Public Office Accountability Bill? Would he agree with me that all those scandals that will never happen again because of this, I include Grenfell and Windrush, sometimes the media have twisted the knife a bit and made the pain harder for the victims' families. So could he not revisit some of these same principles, accountability and justice, for the gutter press?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud that we delivered the Hillsborough Law yesterday, and it is important to recognise there's always been an initial injustice and then a further injustice otherwise after it when the state doesn't acknowledge and get to the truth. We're putting that right with the Hillsborough Law.
Morgan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. After 16 years of Conservative administration, Shropshire Council's finances were left in a disastrous state. Now, after an LGA peer review praised the Lib Dem administration for making significant strides since last May, that difficult financial situation remains. The Right Honourable Member for Makerfield has promised Manchesterism for the rest of the country, but will the Prime Minister join me in urging him to remember that the rest of the country doesn't all look like Manchester and rural areas need a fair deal too?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, she's right to raise rural areas, and that's why we put record investment into our local authorities and into our NHS across the country, including in Shropshire.
Joanna Baxter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent and Scottish football superfan, Craig Ferguson, has just returned home after working for 108 days across 3,000 miles in the United States to raise funds for Scottish Action for Mental Health. He's raised over £1 million. I know this is an issue the Prime Minister cares very deeply about. Can I thank him for his leadership? And will he join me in congratulating Craig and everyone who supported his actions to raise money for mental health?
Well, can I join her and praise and pay tribute to Craig? I believe there's a famous Scottish song about walking 500 miles and then another 500, but to surpass that is an amazing achievement. We all pay tribute.
Forster.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've all enjoyed watching England's success in the World Cup in the last few weeks. As his last act as Prime Minister before he leaves office, will he agree to grant us a bank holiday so we can celebrate England's win?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've been careful not to tempt fate and jinx the result, and I'm a passionate Arsenal and England supporter, and I've watched many games, agonising moments. But, Mr. Speaker, on the question of a bank holiday, he should ask me again on Sunday.
Mr. Speaker, second time. The Prime Minister won't need reminding about. The Prime Minister won't need reminding about Arsenal's success in the Premier League last season, and my right honourable friend, the member for Makerfield, won't want reminding that Everton, unfortunately for him, came 13th. But what neither of my right honourable friends may know is the UK finished 20th in the Corruption Perceptions Index, well within the relegation zone. At the Prime Minister's request, last week, the Ethics and Integrity Commission produced a comprehensive set of recommendations to tighten up rules around lobbying. In light of recent stories around the leader of Reform UK, does he agree with me that these recommendations...
Well, can I pay tribute to the Commission and their work? The work of strengthening our democracy will and must continue.
Susan Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to wish the Prime Minister well in what he does next. The future of communities like mine in Mid Dumbartonshire is uncertain, where hyperscale data centres are set to be built. These large data centres in Scotland's planning system could demand more power than the whole of Scotland needs at its winter peak. Can the Prime Minister assure my constituents they won't find they're fighting for electricity during the cold winter days?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's very important that we have all the resources we need to provide the energy we need and to bring the price of energy down, and that is what we're doing.
Right, final question, Caroline Harris.
Oh, I can do this. Can I thank my right honourable and very dear friend for everything he's given to our party and our country. There were few who believed we could make the changes needed to bring in a Labour government after the general election of 2019 when he became leader. But today, because of his service and his leadership, children are growing up in a fairer Britain. We stand tall on the world stage, and every day we've seen his decency and his courage shine through. Can I thank him and his wonderful family on behalf of me and my family for their cherished friendship, and I am certain everyone will join me in wishing him and his family the very, very best for their next chapter.
Can I thank my honourable friend for her question, for her support and friendship to me, to Vic and to the kids. Whatever the challenge, she has always been there for us, particularly Vic and the kids, and I really thank her for that. Mr. Speaker, this will be my last answer from this dispatch box. Every Prime Minister knows when they take up the torch that the day will come when they have to pass it on. That day has come for me. This is the end of my political journey. In 6 years, went from historic defeat in 2019 to historic victory in 2024. And in 2 years in government, I leave the country in better shape than I found it. I am proud of everything that we have achieved. Mr. Speaker, can I just take time to say to you, Mr. Speaker, and all those who work for the House and in our constituency offices, thank you for all your hard work. To our civil service, thank you also for all your hard work. To my political team, many of them here today, who came on this journey with me, thank you so much for everything you have done and being prepared to walk through fire for me. To my colleagues on these benches, I am proud of all we have achieved together and proud of each and every one of you. To my successor and each of you, I will give my full support. To all colleagues across the House, can I wish you good health and happiness. To all those in the gallery whose lives have been changed or improved by this Labour government, and all across the country who struggle to be seen or heard, you're the reason I came into politics. To my wife and children, I love you. Goodbye.
Can I just say, as the curtain has fallen, this House quite rightly cheers out the Prime Minister. I'm sorry we're still clapping. We don't do clapping in the House. We cheer. We hold our order papers up. That is the farewell that we should always give to a Prime Minister. We now come to the next stage, if the front benches change over.